Hello, my name is Mylan Studart, and welcome to One-on-One on LIE. I'm a former professional athlete, and today we're bringing you a very special story. The Atlantic Supper Girls, as they're called, are here today to talk about their 1,500-mile journey on a paddleboard from New York to Miami. Luann Harris and Julietta Gismondi did something amazing. They paddleboarded for 4 months in an adventure that most people would consider impossible. Physical preparation, mental stress, and weather are some of the challenges that the Supper Girls are going to share with us today. So stay tuned, because here comes a one-on-one special with the Supper Girls. Welcome to One-on-One on LIE. Today we're going to talk to the Supper Girls about paddleboarding. What is paddleboarding, and what motivated them to take that trip from New York to Miami?
SUP stands for stand-up paddleboard, and it's a water sport in which you're paddling on a board which is larger than a surfboard. And you use a single blade paddle. So you're standing on the water, paddling. I've been paddleboarding for about 7 years. I don't think there was a single experience that triggered this particular expedition. I think it was more of a culmination of aspects of my life. I've always been involved in water sports. I started rowing, sculling when I was really young, and then took up kayaking. And then when paddleboarding got into the mix, I picked up paddleboarding. And I also bike a lot, and I like getting places by my own means. So I started thinking about doing a trip, a long distance trip, either biking or kayaking or paddleboarding. And then I decided to go on a paddleboarding trip. I was the first to paddleboard around Long Island. It's been done by kayaks, but nobody had paddleboarded around it. And I decided to do the circumnavigation of Long Island because I wanted to do a first solo trip, but I didn't dare going somewhere far. So I picked Long Island because it's close to home and the furthest I can be from somebody picking me up if something went wrong was kind of 3 hours away. So it made me feel better about the fact that I was not far from my family in case anything happened. And but it was still a long enough trip to be a challenge, because going around Manhattan is one thing because you can do it in 8-9 hours, but then going around Long Island, which is the largest island on the East Coast, it was in itself a challenge, but at the same time it was the safest thing that I could think of doing at that time, at least. That was my first solo trip. It was scary. It was scary all the time. All the time. It was really scary. But at some point, I guess it was on the third or the second day, I sort of realized that I was going to be scared and worried about where I would sleep that night, if the winds were gonna pick up or not, people on the beach kicking me out because you can't really camp on the beach around Long Island. Where I was gonna get water, if I was gonna find water or not. So all these things, they're just in your mind as you're paddling. And
Wow.
At one point, I realized I was going to be worrying about everything all the time. And instead of trying to convince myself that everything was gonna be okay and just enjoy the trip or whatever, I decided I was going to embrace the fact that I was going to be worried and scared all the time and just take it as the state of mind that you're in when you're on a solo trip like that. Even though I was, maybe 400 yards from a street, right? But most of the time I was pretty much alone, so it made it awesome. It's not, I mean, it's not like I had a terrible time. I loved it. I want to do it again, but it does put you in that state of mind where you're just constantly being challenged by every single aspect of the trip.
Wow, that was very interesting. Now we know what SUP means, stand-up paddleboard, and stay tuned next week when we talk to the Supergirls about their big trip from NYC to MIA, why they did it, and how.